folks here know her. Small legend in this world of home biz. Actually, a big legend. So Angela, hi.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Do you guys all made it?
Do you want to tell them about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in business for 27 years. Seen every market that's out there. I'm sure something will come around that'll surprise me again. And I got introduced to home biz about 3 years ago. Came out of the REO wave as an REO agent for 10 years and realized I had to go back to doing resale, and was suddenly going and doing listing presentations and not getting the listings, which I wasn't used to having happen. And I was losing out to agents that were taking the listings at 4%, 4.5%, and I had 3 kids in college at that point and couldn't afford to take a listing at 4% or 4.5%. So I couldn't compete against them. So I walked into an open house, just like everybody else does, and they were doing home bids, and I reacted the same way everybody else does, going, oh my gosh, what is this? This is crazy, I don't like it. Had all the emotions that everyone else did. And got invited to a class from the developers that were selling it. Went to the class and suddenly went, wow, this is really, really cool. I can compete now against the agents that are doing the discount brokerage and still get paid a full commission. And I've been doing it ever since. And then Carrie got introduced to it right afterwards off of one of my listings. I have you know that I take all my listings at 6.5%. I don't even do 6% listings anymore. They're all 6.5%, and I get paid a full 3% commission, and I pay the other agent a full 3% commission. And the sellers are happy, and the buyers are happy, so it really, really does work. And I'll let Carrie tell her story.
So Carrie Nazel-Monday, this office, the Oakland office, I've been licensed for 13 years. I came out of the Great Recession having built my business doing short sales, and then slowly started getting used to the real world and a healthier market than that. My introduction to home bids was I was representing some buyers who were interested in one of Angela's listings in the El Cerrito Hills. And so we did our comps, we did the normal things that we would normally do. I did actually, give them oh, that's one of those auction things, are you sure? And they said, yeah, we're sure. They showed up to one of her open houses. They came back to me, they're like, we want to make an offer. So then I had to figure it out really fast how to use the system. It wasn't that difficult, but still the idea of something different was a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but I figured it out, and we had gone through our comps, figured out where their high point or threshold cap would be, and I was doing the bidding for them. So the day that the auction was ending, I waited until the last second, because that's how we're all conditioned to, by eBay, or even just with our blind offer system that we do, we always just turn them in at the last second. So I waited until the last half an hour to start bidding, and very quickly got outbid at our highest point. So I picked up my phone, I texted my clients who were at work, said, sorry guys, you were just outbid, let's get out there next weekend and start looking at some more houses. And then they quickly texted back and said, we know, we're watching, and we want to go an extra $20,000. And I was like, well, we looked at the comps together. You might have some appraisal issues if we go an extra $20,000. Are you sure? And they said, we're sure, go extra 20. So I put in an extra 20. They got outbid again. And before I could even pick up the phone, they gave me another text, go an extra 10. And I was like, okay, you guys, you will have appraisal issues now. Are you willing to pay a gap? Because I know that that's what they're going to ask us if we win this thing. And they said, yeah.
Had you seen their proof of funds? Did you know that?
Oh, they're my clients, yeah.
Had you seen? So you knew that they had the ability.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So they said, yes, go for it. I win an extra 10, and they didn't get it. It continued to climb an extra 40,000 above that. Was it 40 or 50? It was even,
50.
I think it was 50,000 above that. And so, me being the smarter agent, I thought, got back to them immediately and I was like, oh, did you see that fake offer, that one? Let's put our offer together and send it over so when they find out that that person's not real, we can save the day. So we put together an offer, I sent it over to Angela and I said, congratulations on the winning bid, but when they fall out, because clearly they're not even looking at the comps, when they fall out, we're here to save the day. Here's my client's highest and best. And Angela's like, no, I think we're gonna be okay, but I'll let you know. So then I became the stalking agent, calling Angela every 3-4 days. Hey, did they fall out yet? Did they fall out yet? And every time she confidently was like, no, I think your client should probably move on. And then it closed 15 days later, all cash.
And why did you think it was a fake offer?
It was $100,000 over the comps or more.
Over comps?
Yeah. Over comps or more. I think it was like $150,000. It was a ridiculous amount.
Over.
And she's like, okay, no way, this house is gonna go for that.
Right.
It went all cash, no appraisal contingency,
Wow.
no physical contingencies, and we closed in 15 days.
Wow.
So at that point, I called Angela back. And I'm like, I'm sorry to have been the pest all week. I really didn't think that was gonna happen, and that's amazing. Can you tell me more about this thing that you're doing? And then she introduced me to the developers, and it's been almost 3 years now, and I would say about 95% of my listings, the sellers choose to go with the home bids option. I give them all options, I lay it out on the table, but the results are what make the sellers go this direction.
So, that's history. We've been best friends now for the past 3 years. We teach a lot of people, we've certified a lot of people on doing home bids. And what you guys are gonna learn is pretty much from our failures and our success. So you guys could actually fail forward instead of having to go through some of the stuff we went through in the process. So what is home bids? And if you open up your guys' books and you look at page 1, home bids is a way to sell your home. And it's for traditional sales. It's not for foreclosures, it's not for short sales, it's not for the distressed market. It's actually for your traditional everyday sale. And what I usually tell people when they call me up, because I get these phone calls every day, why are you doing this? Why are you've been around for a long time, why would you do this? And my comment to them is, it's a really good way to streamline the multiple offers. But here's the big reason why I do this, because in 8 days, I will either be in contract on a sale with all these backup offers right behind it, or I'll be having a come to Jesus talk with my seller because I know immediately that they're unrealistic. So it puts me in a lot more powerful situation than taking a listing and going through the process and then finding out that it's not, the price isn't right, or the seller is way up here and we're over here. I can get through all that really, really quick in a matter of 8 days. And it's a great way to impress your seller because you're gonna do some pretty intense marketing. Now, is it for the faint of heart? Do you expect these deals to just fall out of the sky in your lap? Oh, I'm doing home bids now and I'm gonna be Angela Hearn and I'm gonna be doing all these listings. No, I still have to lead generate, still cold call every day. I mean, I'm on the phone every single day, so is Carrie. We're still marketing, we're still sending out marketing materials, we're still doing everything that we're supposed to do as a realtor to get the clients in. The difference between this and the traditional way is that now when I'm sitting across from a seller and they've just interviewed a client who's offered them 4.5%, or Redfin or whatever, I can show them, look, I can get you hundreds of people through your house in a very short period of time, and your half of the commission is only gonna be 3%. And I can actually compete against that other agent and also pay my fellow agent a full commission.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I think it has a lot of integrity. But anyway, so that is what home bids is in a nutshell. It allows you to be able to take a listing, offer the seller a break on their commission, offer the buyer full transparency so they're not leaving money on the table. They'll know exactly what they're bidding against. and they're only bidding by $1,000 more than the next buyer, it's no risk to the seller, because they have the right to accept, counter, or reject any offer. And it also allows us as agents to take back our market to where now we're working for a full commission and not 1% or 1.5% or 2.5%, where both the seller, listing agent, and the selling agent is getting paid a full commission. That, in a nutshell, is really what HomeBids is. So you can structure it any way you want. You don't have to do 6.5%. I mean, I started doing 6.5% at the beginning of the year. And I'll tell you why I started doing 6.5%. Because Carrie and I have started doing this for quite some time, and we're doing it at such a high volume, we get a lot of pushback. I get hate emails, I get nasty phone calls, I get threats.
From other realtors?
From other realtors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Not sellers, not buyers. They love it.
It's
the other agents.
Other agents. So my decision was, okay, now that we've certified 400 agents out there and there's all these other agents doing this, the hate mail started coming in at a much higher volume again. So my thought was, you know what, rather than offer him 2.5%, I chose to offer the other agent 3%. So now all that's kind of quieted down.
Wait,
Yes.
so you mean before you were doing, you had 4% and the other one was 2.5%?
No, before I was doing a 6% listing, which is what we're gonna teach you
We're
how to
gonna
do.
teach you.
Okay.
We're gonna teach you to do 6%, and we were offering 2.5% to the other agent,
Oh.
3% us, and then 0.5% goes to HomeBids, and all that is gonna be explained
Okay.
as we do the class.
Okay.
I chose to go up to 6.5%
Okay.
to stop
And
the
that
pushback.
0.5% is the half that goes to HomeBids?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and we will explain that as we go along. But anyway, that is what HomeBids is pretty much in a nutshell.
So the process works with the starting bid is always 20 to 30% below market value. Do not confuse market value with your seller's unrealistic expectations and goals. Market value is market value. You know, follow that up with data in your comps. 30% tends to be the magic number unless you are in luxury or commercial. We've found that in luxury and commercial, 20% tends to be a little more realistic. If you allow your sellers to bully you into not going that full 30% below the market value, then don't even do the home bids. It won't work. You're gonna waste everyone's time. Multiple people are gonna be frustrated, mostly your seller, because it doesn't work. 30% below market value is where you need to be at. Some people have asked, why not go below? Why not just start at $1? Well, because that doesn't really work either. Again, learn from our mistakes. We've failed forward, and because of that, we're now gonna help you be able to be successful with this product.
I'll get right to you. So for an example, talking about being bullied, when I first started doing this, I took a list, and it works in every market. Don't think, oh, it doesn't work in our market. You just have to understand what is the median price for that market and what is luxury for that market. So I took a listing in San Francisco. This was maybe 3.5, or maybe, has it been 4 years now? I don't even know how long it's been anymore. Anyway, I took a listing in San Francisco. It was an older guy, old Italian guy in his 80s, been in that house. The house belonged to his parents. The house was from the 1920s built. It still had 1920s and 30s floors, tiles, everything. And he convinced me, you know, everybody else in the neighborhood was getting $2 million. Everybody else in the neighborhood was, so he figured his property was worth 1.6. And instead of me going with my gut, with what I felt it was worth, I listened to him and I did 30% from 1.6, which when I put it on the market at 1.3. We had lots of people come through the house. We had maybe over 300 people.
What was your gut, higher or lower?
Low.
My gut was lower.
Okay.
We had maybe over 300 people come through the house. Not a single person bid on that house. Because the reason why is 1.3 was the actual market value of that property, not 1.6. So where I was starting the auction off was actually at market value. So if I'd done it traditional, I probably would have gotten an offer. I should have started at $900,000. is where I should have started. So
Wow.
when we're telling you really stick to the formula of 30% below market value, it's because, and there's other stories where Carrie and I, this has both happened to both Carrie and I,
Right.
and other agents, where if you don't do market value and it's not their market value, it's market value, what the comps truly say.
So much so that when other agents call us and say, Angela, Carrie, what happened? It didn't work. Our very next question that comes out of our mouth is, what did you price it at? And you can't lie to us. Don't lie to us. Oh, we priced it just like you told us. Oh, really? What price did you put it at? And then we'll go back and we'll look at the comps and it's clearly not 30% below. Oh, well,
We went
my
50%
seller
below.
wasn't going to sign it. Just don't
Yeah.
even mess with it. If the seller doesn't want to take the actions that produce the results, then this is not the product for them. And feel strong enough to just say,
Yeah.
no, I think we should go traditional.
Yeah, and we offer both options and we'll show you how to do that, but the reason why we're saying that is when you have one that doesn't work, now not only do you have the seller who's upset, we've got buyers up there who's frustrated, but now we've got our colleagues calling us up going, see, I told you,
Yeah.
this doesn't work, you're wasting everybody's time.
Right.
So, when we're telling you do it at 30%, really truly do it at 30%. Now, when we're telling you luxury at 20%, you gotta know your market. Really know your market. So if you're doing business in the peninsula, hey guys, their median price is 1.4 million. I would do that at 30%. But if I took a listing at 2 million over there or 2.5, then I would do 20%. But if you're doing business here in Oakland, or if you're doing business in Danville, well, the median price isn't 1.4 or 2 million. The median price, maybe it's 700,000, maybe it's 800,000. So you stick to that median price at 30%. Luxury for whatever that area is going to be 20%. You know, but know your market. So you really truly have to put your realtor hat on and do your homework.
Yep. So pricing's the first thing. Oh yeah, you had a question. Go ahead.
Actually, now I have two, but anyway, so the first question was, so you take the median price and you take the 30% off, and then, so you do everything that's according to the books for HomeBiz, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if it still doesn't sell? Like, what if you
We'll
still
get to that.
Oh,
We have an answer for that for you. All that's in here.
Yeah. You're jumping ahead,
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
I like it. I like it. You're
It's okay.
thinking ahead, and you are thinking like our sellers too.
Right.
because
That is a
that's
question
gonna be
that
their
comes up.
question,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Alright.
So the other thing that I want to also make really, really clear is on what HomeBiz is. HomeBiz is a listing generating tool. That's all it is. It isn't something that's going to go out there and magically sell your property. You have to do the work. In fact, you're doing more work. Double the work than you do on a traditional sale. It's a beautiful listing generating tool, and it's a beautiful buyer's lead tool that you don't have to pay for the leads. I don't pay Zillow for leads anymore. I don't pay any of those other companies for leads because of what this offers me as far as leads go. And we will show you how that works. This side, there you go, she's trying to figure out how to get in here. Anyway, so that is truly what HomeBiz is. It's a listing lead generating tool. And use it that way because it will work phenomenally for you. How do you get your listings? How do you get business with HomeBiz? Just like anything else. It's a great place to go to on Craigslist. Zillow, go to Zillow and go look to the spots where it says make me an offer. And call those people up. What HomeBiz does is exactly what for sale by owners are already doing and thinking. All we're doing is going, hey, Mr. Seller, we're gonna bring you an offer. I know you only wanna pay 3%, but I'm gonna raise the price up by 3.5% or by 3% to cover the other half of the commission. How does that sound? Oh, by the way, there's no risk to you involved. For sale by owners love it. Go after the for sale by owners, homeowners.com. I am now doing HomeBiz on everything. I do my geographical farms with HomeBiz. I do my expireds on HomeBiz. I think 65% of my business is expireds. So I do all of my expireds. I do the 8x8s. If you're Keller Williams, you'll know what an 8x8 is. And by the way, since I arrived a few minutes late, how many of us are not Keller Williams agents in here? One, okay. I think you and I talked on the phone earlier, or we were emailing back
Yeah.
and forth. Yes, okay.
Used to be.
But if you were wondering what an 8x8 is, it's basically contacting
No, I
them
know,
8 times.
yeah.
Right,
I
right.
was with
So
California.
I do all of that with my home bids material to get the listing appointment.
I'm gonna take a step back because you jumped to the prospecting and we didn't get through the process.
Okay.
So, listing 30% below market value. The property is listed on the MLS just like any other traditional listing. We typically list it on a Monday morning and market that property all week long. We'll get to what that marketing looks like in a minute. We only show the house at publicly advertised open houses. So,
No
we do-
lock boxes.
we do this a little bit differently, and this is your business, so you can design it however you want. It is recommended that you have 2 to 4 open houses during that 1 week period. The more the better. Angela does 4, because she's great. I have great intentions of doing 4, but usually do 2. And then there's another great agent that's been doing the home bids process for as long as we have, Eduardo, and he does 1.
On
And it's
Saturday.
on a Saturday, because he doesn't work on Sunday, and he does really well with this product also. It just depends on your market and what they expect. So typical showings are on Saturday and Sunday, and then Angela does brokers and a twilight. And with the twilight, that is advertised as an open house as well as the brokers is advertised as an open house as in addition to brokers tours, so the public is invited to come as well.
Right. And we'll get, go ahead.
Why no lockbox? What's the?
Why no lock box? We're going to
We'll
explain
get to that.
We're going to explain it.
So the process ends on the following Tuesday. That means that the auction ends. The auction is running the entire time from the second you put it on the MLS through the end time. And once the highest bidder is determined, then they have 24 hours to get us their contract in writing. So there's no RPAs, no paperwork prior to, shaking out who the real buyers are gonna be. Oftentimes they are so close, or we get into a situation where we're concerned about appraisal or concerned about the buyer that did win, and so then we do actually ask for the second and the third highest bidders contracts as well. And then the winning bidder, it may not be the highest bidder, but sometimes those are the ones that we actually end up in contract with. And an example of that is, a perfect example is the El Cerrito property. So the person that ended up closing on that property that I had bid on was the second highest bidder. And that's because they were all cash. The first highest bidder was only putting 10% down. Angela had concerns about what if the appraisal came in low, they didn't really have the cash to fill the gap, and so she had asked for the second highest bidder's contract, which was all cash, and it was a no-brainer at that point.
Right. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, because at this point, you have to understand, we don't know what the terms are. We only know price. So just because it's the top bidder, that is the winning bidder, doesn't necessarily mean that they've written an offer when they give you the offer in writing that is best for your seller. The terms may not make sense. So I always ask bidder number 1 and bidder number 2, sometimes bidder number 3, to submit their written offers. I'm old school, so I believe ink on paper means commitment. So I actually ask for the written offers in hand. Carrie, I think she's changed her
I have
format.
changed.
But she was doing letters of intent, like just send me your email with your terms, or give me your terms and I'll present it to the seller. And then she switched over.
To the actual contracts, because the people get all excited and then they sleep on it and change their mind a little bit.
Right.
So, but once it's in contract and ink, they've actually really
How
thought
do
it
you
through.
prevent scamming, from somebody like a show? Because if there's like buyers A and B,
Mhm.
and you have buyer A and then buyer, and then buyer B goes 10K over, and then A and then B goes over,
Sure.
and B really is just playing the system, but he's got an A to an elevated price.
Mhm.
How do
We're gonna cover that. It's in the next few
Alright.
pages. We'll actually cover all of that. But thanks for asking that question.
I have a question. What about disclosures? Do they get disclosures of?
We're gonna get to that too.
Okay.
We're gonna cover all of that. By the time you guys are done, you will have, all those questions will be answered. And I'm not answering them ahead of time because then it'll take us off
Sure.
the course of what we need to go through. And we have a lot to go through. So the other beauty of it is on home bids, since we backed up a little bit, is that the bidders are only bidding by $1,000 increments. So when you get a buyer that comes through and they're like, well, why would I wanna pay this buyer's premium? Well, it's because you're not leaving money on the table. You actually know what the other person's offer is, at least the price, versus writing an offer blindly and not knowing what the other price is. We're in Oakland. I would say pretty much every house in Oakland that goes on the market and sells has maybe 10, 15 multiple offers on it. Maybe a little bit less now because we're in a shift market, but that's okay. But the buyer who gets the offer doesn't know if they've gotten the offer by $1,000 or by maybe $50,000. And then you get to week 2 when
And they're
you're
having
doing this.
remorse,
they're
because they
having
just
remorse.
went to Zillow and they're like, oh no, Zillow said. And
Right.
so they're having that buyer's remorse, and that's when you get the laundry list items of buyer wants this done, this done, this done, credit for whatever, because they're feeling like they overpaid. With home bids, that doesn't happen as much, because they know what the next highest
Right.
bidder was willing to
Right,
pay.
and so that's what we educate the buyers when they come to our open houses and when we're talking to them. You're going to know what the other person's bid is, so you're not leaving money on the table. And because of that, they're totally fine with paying that buyer's premium.
Not only are they totally fine, they ask us, why isn't everyone doing this?
Right. And we'll go over that when we get into the open house section. So back to how you get sellers and clients is you're going to prospect, just like you do every single thing else. Or if you haven't prospected, then you need to start prospecting. So,
Especially in the shifting market.
especially in a shifting market. You need to be prospecting for sellers, you need to be calling the expireds, you need to be calling for sale by owners, do your door knocking and do all of that, but now you have something else to present them that a lot of other agents are not doing. So it makes you stand out a little bit more.
And HomeBids has created a lot of marketing tools for you, postcards, flyers, and all of those can be found. If you're with Keller Williams and you're using the broker-owned sites, it's found on the back-end office. I think it's called Agent Collateral, but it's on there, and you just plug in your photo and all of that. For folks like you, you're gonna need to buy your own website to run your HomeBids auctions through, and we do have a discount code here for you. Anyone's invited to get their own website, but we usually recommend to start with a couple through your brokerage first if they're offering it to you, and then at the point that you realize it's gonna be a large part of your business, it might be worth it for you. They're nice websites.
Yeah, Carrie and I both have our own websites.
Yeah.
I've seen a website,
Yeah.
they are very nice
Yeah.
looking. Is there anything that my broker has to do? Or is this something that I can do?
No.
Like, is there any,
The only thing that I would, who's your broker?
Sam Medina with Village Properties?
Okay, the only thing that I would say is just have a conversation with your broker, let them know that you're gonna start doing this.
Okay,
Some brokers have expressed concern or just don't understand it,
Mhm.
at which point, we'd be happy to talk to them. Or if they give you pushback, then you might consider a change. That's what happened with Angela, that Angela was with Remax. And they were giving her so much
Remax is
grief
getting
that
pushback.
she was very happy when Keller Williams started recruiting her specifically for her involvement with on home bids and online auctions. Yeah.
It's a game changer. And here's the other thing too. It is a market disruptor. It's a huge market disruptor. So when you're asking why are we getting pushback, because it is a market disruptor. You have agents that maybe are old school who still don't know how to use a computer quite well. They're struggling with it. We're in an industry that is going to be changing radically in the next couple years. It's better
Very
to be ahead of the
good.
game.
Young person on
Right,
that team.
right. And if you think this is something that's not gonna be around long-term, you guys, there's Farah out there that's doing the same thing, but they're not paying a buyer's agent a commission. There's so many other companies that we can
Purple
tell you that are doing this, and the difference between this and the other ones is that we're actually protecting the selling agent's commission.
Yeah, full agent involvement required, full commissions in place. All of those other products are tech companies that are trying to replace us.
Right.
Okay.
So you might as well be ahead of the game, then at the back end of the game, and then figuring out what happened. So now we're gonna go into the listing presentation. We're gonna put the book down, because Carrie and I are just going to do it. You guys can follow along. We won't be saying everything that's in there, but I do recommend that you guys read it so you know what to say. So Carrie's gonna be the client, I'm gonna be the agent, and I'm gonna kind of show you kind of what happens at a listing presentation. Hi Carrie, how are you?
Good,
Good,
good.
thanks for having me over.
Yeah, so tell me a little more about what you do.
Okay, so I sell homes a little bit differently. I can offer you both. I can offer you traditional and home bids. But I'm gonna show you what home bids does, is I'm gonna bring you hundreds of buyers through your house, get your home sold in 8 days with multiple offers, and give you the option of only paying half the commission.
Wow, okay.
Okay? So how we're gonna do that is we're going to look at the comps. So have you seen this house at 1234 Easy Street?
Totally.
Totally, okay, and you see that it sold for 500,000.
That's what I want.
Okay, awesome. And then you see this one over here that sold at 125 Easy Street. That one went for 520.
Oh, I mean, I want that one.
And then you see this one down here that went for 475.
I'm not selling for 475.
So we're gonna show you how we're gonna get people in to get you top dollar in the shortest amount of time.
Right.
Okay,
So, how much was the commission again?
okay, so I charge 6%, but you're going to pay 3% of it and the buyer's gonna pay 3% of it. Can I show you how that's gonna work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need you guys to get your calculators out because you're gonna do the math for me. So if you're gonna list your house with so-and-so, and you said you want $500,000,
Let's
correct?
do 500, nice round number.
Okay, so you're good with 500,000. So so-and-so is gonna charge you 5% commission.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Okay, so what is 5% of 500?
25.
25,000? So without taking off the mortgage and the county and city transfer tax, you would net $475,000,
Okay.
okay? You're still good with $500,000, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, I want more than 475.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna net you more.
Okay.
So $500,000 is an acceptable bid,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where the difference comes into play. If you're willing to accept $500,000, commission is 6%.
What? You said 3%.
I'm gonna show you how you're gonna pay 3%.
Okay.
So the buyer is going to credit you 3%. Here's that 3%. What is
Okay.
3% of 500,000, guys?
15,000.
15,000. Okay, so they're going to cover that side of the commission, so now the purchase price becomes $515,000,
Okay.
okay? Remember, the commission is 6%, you still have to pay that 3%. So here's the 6% right there. What is 6% of 515?
I don't see anyone on the calculator.
3%?
30.
No, not
30,000.
3, 6%.
30,000.
30,000 what?
30,000.
Let me do it again.
Oh, 515?
Yeah,
30,000.
3%,
Oh.
6% of 515.
Yep.
30,000.
Okay, so what is 30,900 minus 515?
Or 515 minus 30.
Yeah, they get 30,900. They get real picky about the little bit.
40, okay, 484,100.
484.
484, 100.
100.
Am I right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna net you this
I want that one.
instead of this,
Yes, please, thank you. I want that one.
that one.
Yeah.
And here's the beauty of it is, if you have to pay capital gains tax on your settlement HUD, when you get closed escrow, it's gonna show this full amount. So you get to deduct the full 30,900. So not only do you get 484, 400, you get more, almost $10,000 more.
Mhm.
You also get a higher deduction.
I like that. How are you gonna do that in 1 week though?
Okay, so that's really easy. So we are going to price your home 30% below market value.
How much is that?
It's gonna be about $323,000.
350.
$350, okay, it's $350,000.
I'm not selling my house
Okay.
for 350.
I don't expect you to sell your
I'm
house for
not gonna do
$350.
it.
And,
That's
and this is usually where my sellers have a heart attack, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you the
I'm having
CPR. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you are. So let me show you how I'm gonna help you with that. We're gonna start it at $350,000. Have you ever been to an auction?
Oh, I saw Storage Wars on TV.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do they do on Storage Wars?
I guess they start it low, and that one guy is the
Goes,
annoying
yeah.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so he keeps raising the price?
Sure.
We're gonna do the same thing with your house, the
Okay.
exact same thing. We're gonna start it at $350,000. It's gonna be on
Okay.
the MLS at $350. Be on Zillow, it's gonna be everywhere else in $350.
Oh, it goes on the MLS.
It goes everywhere. By the time I'm through, the whole community is going to know that your house is for sale at $350,000.
Okay.
But it's 30% below everybody else, so guess what happens? Everybody and their brother is gonna come look at your house.
Okay.
So we're gonna
In 1 week?
In 1 week, we're gonna drive anywhere from 200 to 300
That's
people
gonna be
to your
a lot
house.
of showings. I don't know. That I've got a dog and my 2-year-old. That sounds
That's
crazy.
a lot, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I get it. So this is how we're gonna work that out.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have to show the house during the week at all, except during the times that you and I choose together. So we're gonna do, because remember I do 4, we're gonna do 4 open houses.
Mhm.
And those are the only times we're gonna show. In fact, I'm not even gonna put a lockbox on your property,
Oh, really?
really. So you don't have to worry about people coming while you're in the shower to come show your house, because no one's gonna be able to get in your house.
I was.
The only time they're gonna show your house is during our open house. It's gonna be broker's tour / open house.
When's that?
That is, let's see, you're in Oakland, so that is Monday, from 10 to 1. And I would invite the public. Yes, I want the agents to come through, but you know what, I really want the buyers to come through. So I'm gonna invite the public.
Okay.
We're gonna do Thursday night from 4 to 6 p.m. So we're gonna invite the public to come
Can
through.
we do 5 to 6?
Sure,
Just
Sure,
Okay.
if that works for you, that's totally fine. 5 to 6 p.m. We're gonna invite the public, but we're also gonna invite your neighbors. Because your neighbors are gonna be a little upset that I just listed your home for $350,000.
Yeah.
And I
would
want
be.
them to be good about it, knowing that I'm not gonna undermarket their property, that I'm gonna sell their property at top dollar, but I also want them to tell their friends about your house, because sometimes the neighbors sell the house for you. So we're gonna invite them over specifically on Thursday night,
Okay.
and then we're gonna have an open house Saturday 1 to 4. And those are the only times we're gonna show your house. You
What
don't-
about Sunday?
I said Saturday and Sunday 1 to 4.
Okay. So that's
Okay.
the 4.
Those are the 4.
Okay, that sounds actually, and everyone's gonna be able to come during those times?
And here's the thing, we're gonna market it everywhere. We're going to market it on the MLS.
Okay.
It's gonna be on the 150 different sites that are syndicated with the MLS.
Okay.
And I'm going to blast it all over social media. It's going to be on Facebook, it's going to be on Pinterest, it's going to be on Snapchat, it's going to be on Twitter,
What about Instagram? Like,
on Instagram,
Yeah,
yes. It's gonna
okay.
be all over the place.
all right.
So everybody's gonna know about your house. We're getting these people through, we're gonna start on a Monday, it's gonna close down 8 days later on a Tuesday afternoon,
Okay.
okay?
What if we don't get 500?
Okay, well, here's the beauty of it. If we don't get $500,000 and you don't like the offer, you don't have to accept any of them. We can counter them, just like we would in traditional, and see if we can get them up to that. Or we can take a step back and go, okay, why did we not get $500,000? Figure out there's something we need to do to the house to get it to that level and do it again. Or we switch over to a traditional listing for 60 days.
So only 1 week, and then if it doesn't work, then we can go traditional?
Mhm.
So all I'm really losing here is a week?
That's all you're losing is a week.
Okay, and then, so because you're only taking 3%, I guess that I'm gonna have to get it staged. How much does that
No.
cost?
Remember, I'm getting 6%.
Oh, yeah,
We're
yeah,
splitting
yeah.
it
Okay,
with, and
okay.
there's a reason why I say it over and over again.
And then there's a reason why I'm pretending like I didn't even notice all those times.
Because come close of escrow, they're gonna forget
Again.
again,
Yeah.
and they're gonna see it on their HUD, and then you're gonna have them go, well, wait a minute, you said it was only 3%. So I never say 3%, I say 6%, split between you and the buyer. Buyer's gonna give you 3% and you're gonna pay 3%. I'm getting a full 6% commission. So because I'm getting a full 6% commission, I will take care of the staging for you. The only thing I ask is if we get to the end of the week and you decide you don't wanna accept any of the offers,
Uh-huh,
and you decide you don't wanna convert to a traditional listing,
uh-huh.
and you go, you know what, Angela, I'm done canceling the listing. I'm totally cool with that. I ask that you reimburse me for my staging. That's all I ask.
Like if I decide to go with one of those other agents?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. But
That's
again,
fair.
other agents gonna get you this, I'm gonna get you this. Which one do you want?
I want that one.
Okay, great. Sign the contract.
Can't you put the staging for them to pay it out of escrow? So you don't have
Here's the
to-
deal, we're getting a 6% commission. Why wouldn't you pay for staging?
Well, if they cancel.
Well, if
Well,
they cancel, there is
there's
no
no
escrow.
money in escrow.
There's nothing in escrow. What are you gonna get from escrow? What we do is we put on the contract, seller to reimburse us
Okay.
for the cost of staging or prepping
Okay, I
within
understand
3
that.
days after cancellation.
We do have a sample contract in here, it doesn't say that on there because that's something that we've added on our own because that's the way we run our business. Some people don't offer staging and that's how they decide to run their business, so it's not on the sample contract.
And there's a lot of other things you could do. So let's say you get a house that doesn't deserve staging. You can't put lipstick on a pig, you know,
Yeah.
and you've got the pig as a listing. You know, I've got a few of those where they're the ugly house, total fixer-upper, hoarder, the whole 9 yard. You know what? This works beautifully for that.
I was gonna say.
You know,
bet
I
that
have
works
had
even
better results with that than some of my really, really pretty listings. So then you don't do staging, you don't do anything. You do the home bids for a week, you've just lost a week. That's all it is. And in that week, you'll know exactly what the market is telling you. So it doesn't get to 500,000. Let's say it only got to 475. Well, now I have that come to Jesus talk with the seller. Miss Carrie,
Mm.
I had
Not
300 people through your house. Do you realize it? 300 people.
I
And we
know.
had 2,000 people go to the website.
I was hanging out at the neighbor's house across the street, I
Watching,
saw
yeah.
them, yeah.
And we only got to $475,000.
Mhm.
So the market's basically telling us that the value of your home is only $475,000.
Are you sure?
What do you think? 300 people? That's a lot of people coming through your house. 152 bids?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I either try to get them to accept this or
Do you
counter
think
it.
we can get 485?
Well, we can counter and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then you know what? We'll go traditional and we'll list it at 485.
Okay.
But you know what I just did? I got her to meet me halfway
Yeah.
between the gap. So I just used home bids as a listing tool. I didn't worry that it didn't work. Oh wow, I did this and we're not in contract the home bids way. You know what? I still have a listing.
Usually when you have to ask for a price reduction, that's after there were like maybe 4 showings in 3 weeks. And they're
Right.
blaming you for the marketing,
On a
right?
traditional listing.
Right, but at this point, the marketing has spoken. There's been everyone and their mom, literally, you've captured that market. But here, let's just go to worst case scenario and they say, no, my cousin's gonna relist it at 500,000, they're gonna get it. Then you have a whole list of, in the listing agreement, which we'll get there, but you have a whole list of people that you brought to that property and you say, okay, that's fine, we can cancel. Here's the list of, if any of these folks end up making an offer on your property, unfortunately because of our contract, you're going to have to still pay me a commission. Once they see that list, a lot of times that's what brings them back down to earth.
Reality.
Because they're like, oh, this really is everybody and their mom.
And that's a powerful tool. So what we're talking about is that one section on the listing agreement that most of us don't use.
We'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there. So what I do is, if I know we're going to cancel, maybe I don't like the seller. Maybe I'm realizing the seller is in fantasy land, way in fantasy land, and I don't want to spend any more marketing dollar on this house because we're not going to get to $500,000 because they really want $600,000.
Right.
And that has happened.
Or they say 500 is cool in the beginning and then later on they're
It's
like,
something
no,
else.
I really wanted
So
this.
I have another conversation with them at the listing appointment, and that is, here's the thing. You need to be really, really careful Because as we're doing this, what you're gonna see is you're gonna see people start bidding on the property, and you're gonna watch the value of your property go up, 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 up. And usually within the last 2 hours, it can go up $100,000, $200,000, just like that. So don't get into Vegas mode, and this is what I tell them, don't get into Vegas mode and go, oh, let's play Let It Ride. Because the moment you play Let It Ride and you go, and I bring you that offer at 500,000
Or
that you-
515.
or 515, and then you turn around and tell me, you know what? I actually really decided I wanted 600. Could we try this one more week? I've now lost everyone, and it's not going to work the second time around. So you have that and you prep them, because it's human nature to go, I want more. This works so great, I want more. So you got to get them back to reality. But here's the thing, what if I've got and I've had this happen to me, what if I have the seller that, no, I want that ridiculous price, it's going to take 3 years to get there. At that point, I make the decision of, do I want to continue spending my marketing dollars on this house, or am I going to divorce this client? Well, I'll divorce the client. I will have my assistant draw up the cancellation. They don't even have to ask me for it. I'll just draw it up. Sometimes it shocks them when I hand it to them. I hand them the cancellation. I have on the contract that if they sell the house in the next 90 days with any of the people that I've marketed to, they still owe Keller Williams a full commission. And I hand them a list, and the list is usually about 100 people long.
Full contact information.
Right. I go, you sell to any one of these people, you owe me a commission. And at that point, a lot of times, they'll go, no, wait, we still want to do this, and I can get them back down to reality. So the negotiating power with you and the seller becomes a lot stronger. Yes?
So the that 0.5% that goes to home bids, is that already included in the 6%?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's 2.5 and a half.
Right, so the traditional way, which is how pretty much everybody does it, is it'll be a 6% listing, 3% to the listing agent, 2.5% to the selling agent, and 0.5% goes to home bids. And we're gonna get into that some more, because we have documentation for you to cover that, yes.
So when you say list of people interested, you are talking about people who actually bidded on the house?
No, we're
But are
talking,
you still capturing those who may just come in?
we're gonna actually go into that as we get into the open house. We're capturing everybody,
Everybody.
including people that
Everybody
come
has
to
to
the
sign
open
in.
house.
Okay, everybody has to sign in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the listing contracts, which we have a sample listing contract towards the end of the book, and it has a big red sample stamp on it.
Yeah, you gotta make some changes on this, because this one was when it first started out, and it says 5.5. If you're with Keller Williams, you're not allowed to do 5.5, you gotta do minimum 6%, if you're doing home bids. The whole idea of doing home bids is so that we're not cutting our commission, that's why we're doing that.
If you go back to a traditional sale, do you get pushback on that 6%?
Sometimes, and we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to do the regular listing agreement like you would any other listing agreement. You're gonna start at the day you get the signing. We advertise a 10-day listing, but it's not 10 days from when you sign it. I want you guys to be really clear about it. The 10-day starts, that clock starts from the day it goes live. So if I need a week or 2 weeks to prep the property, let's say we need to stage, say we need to paint, or we need to trash the house out because it's got a bunch of debris or stuff, you need to give yourself time. So know that the 10 days begin, and we tell that to the client. The 10-day begins the Monday morning we put it on the MLS, and it goes live. Not coming soon, because I know we have coming soon, coming up soon. That doesn't count. And then it's 10 days from that, and that's the date it expires. The reason why we do 10 days when we're actually only on the market for 8 is we're giving us a few days of time for negotiating. Because we're still negotiating, we're actually doing real estate. Your list price, which is the starting bid price, and then you're gonna copy the verbiage that you have here under listing terms verbatim. I think on mine, I actually add the website on there. So that they know where the website is as far as the home bids.
And here's the listing.
So seller agrees that list price is actually the starting bid price as the subject property is being listed via home bids online bidding process at, she puts the website. which allows the seller to accept, counter, or reject any bid. And that,
Right, this protects the seller.
Mhm.
This is what makes the seller like to do this, because they know that they have an out. Because if you do a traditional listing,
they don't have an out.
they don't have an out. You don't have to sell a house on a traditional listing. You just have to bring them an offer at list price, and technically, they have to pay us a commission. That's how our contracts are written. This negates that into, they don't have to accept an offer at list price, because list price is an offer that they really don't want, which is, in her case, would have been $350,000.
Mhm. So down below at D, what number is that? 3D? Yeah, make sure that you put 2.5% goes to the buyer's agent. And make sure that that top commission is 6%, not the 5.5% that's written on this sample. So cross that out right now. And then 2.5% goes to the buyer's agent, and then on the next page, we'll see that the extra 0.5% goes to HomeBids.
Then on the back, under additional terms, and this is pretty much almost the last page of your listing agreement, it's gonna have the verbiage where it says, seller agrees that the broker will charge a buyer's premium of 3%. Now you can change that, because remember, we're equaling 6%.
Right.
The buyer's premium does not have to be 3%. Let's say you have a seller who's willing to pay 4%, you could do a 2% buyer's premium. Let's say you go on that, you get that phone call from the seller who doesn't want to pay you anything. I want you to take this listing, but I only want to pay you 1%. You know what? You can actually go on that listing appointment now, take the listing, because they can do 1% and the buyer's premium could be 5%.
It's not gonna do as good.
Right, the auction isn't gonna run as well, but you can still do it, and it still works.
You don't have to hang up on that person.
Right.
Okay, I thought Keller Williams had to offer 2.5 to the cooperating broker.
I'm not talking about what we're offering the cooperating broker. I'm talking about the buyer's premium on page,
Okay.
yeah, the
I
last
see it,
page.
I see it.
Yep.
Wait, how is that different?
Yeah.
The buyer's premium covers the cooperating broker, but the buyer's premium can get split up however you want between buyer and seller. So let's just say that you, again, with Angela's example, that you have a seller that only wants to pay 1%. Oh, I saw the Redfin billboard, I wanna pay 1%.
Flat
You don't
rate.
have to hang up on them anymore. Now you say, okay, I have a product for you. Let me tell you how this works. You go through the thing. They are paying 1%, but now your buyer's premium
It's 5%.
in this area changes to 5%.
Right.
That's gonna cover the shortage.
Right, so,
It's still a 6% listing.
So to answer-
Oh, because that
Right.
5%, part of it still goes to you, part of it still goes to you.
exactly,
Okay,
so to
gotcha,
answer
gotcha.
your question,
Gotcha.
selling agent is still getting 2.5%, you're still getting 3%, HomeBids is still getting, oh, here we go.
This still equals this.
Right, this still
However
equals
you
this.
break it up.
Right, what we're saying is you can now change the buyer's premium, so it gives you flexibility. We don't recommend it, meaning
We've tried.
we tried, it doesn't always work as much. I mean, I'm pushing the envelope doing 3.5% buyer's premium.
Because they have to put that premium on top of the price.
Correct.
Exactly,
And then it will
exactly,
raise, yeah.
exactly.
Right, so it's on the buy side, and so you're gonna get pushback because
Right.
it's so big.
Right.
Well, not only that, I mean, like auctions.com has a 6% buyer's premium. So it clearly works with some formats. It's just that with like auction.com, that's an additional closing cost. So that's cash that buyer has to come to the table with. With HomeBids, we're baking it into the loan, but now we have to appraise. So even if we boosted it above that appraised value and everyone's like, hooray, hooray, and then you're tacking an extra like 5% on top of that, chances are that you're gonna have to be renegotiating that price point later on, unless they're all cash or have a large, proof of
Right.
funds that
Right.
can cover it, but.
Right, so the buyer's premium can be anything you want between 0 to 6%. You can do a full 6% buyer's premium. What we're saying is you don't have to tell that seller, no, I'm sorry, I won't do a 1% listing. Yeah, I can come over and talk to you now because I have this product I can offer you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the commission is 6%, and we're asking you to keep it there because the whole idea of doing this, the reason why it's worked so well for us is where everybody else is reducing. We've got big, and we don't have, I'm not gonna say names or anything. We have big teams out there, top producing agents, who are taking listings at 4.5%. This has been going on now ever since we came out of the recession. And that's what's hurt us.
3%.
Or 3%, that's what hurt us as an industry. So if we can keep the integrity and go, you know what? We're gonna get paid a full 6% commission because we deserve a full 6% commission. Doesn't matter what the seller wants. The seller can believe that they're paying 1%. They're excited. Buyer's bringing in 5%. At the end of the day, when they go to escrow, it's still that 6%.
So, and in this last example, you put the buyer's premium to be the 5%, right?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and under the comments, and we'll show you how to do that. But on the listing agreement, the standard is what we're reading to you, which is buyer's premium is 3%.
Okay.
And, you know, and we continue on with buyer's premium is 3% of the accepted bid. Accepted bid plus buyer's premium establishes the sales price. Seller agrees to release the buyer's premium at close of escrow and will be used towards paying the buyer's agent's commission and 0.5% service fee due and payable to home bids at close of escrow. Seller agrees that all commissions and home bid service fee are based on the final sales price.
515.
515, not 500. You'll get some people that are gonna argue with you and try to do it off of 500. No, it's 515. This becomes too complicated.
And this saves you from that nickel and diming seller at the end who says, no, the highest bid was 500, I'm only paying commissions on that. You just have to take them back here. I've had a
So say
couple.
that again, I say that, what are you saying?
Okay,
We're saying exactly what's written here. The
the commission
They're
is
gonna wanna
based
take
on
commission.
us.
the purchase agreement.
It includes the premium.
Yes, the final price is this. This is what the price is gonna be on the purchase agreement. You don't even see this anymore. You just see this on the purchase agreement. So the commissions are all based off of that. But you keep this and you send it to them when they start arguing with you at the end and remind them
Well,
that's
only
what they
if
agreed
it's
to.
a small
It's only if.
percentage, yeah.
But every once in a while you get that one.
And then number 3 is if the bid is accepted, listing agreement is extended through close of escrow. So remember you wrote only 10 days because that's what we're advertising. I sometimes write them longer because that's what the seller's willing to do and they didn't come through any of that advertisement. But if you're sticking to that 10-day listing period from the day it goes on the MLS, number 3 is very important because if the bid is accepted, listing agreement extends through close of escrow, and if the subject, this is the part that we added in,
Okay.
if subject property is unsold through bidding, listing automatically converts to a traditional listing valid for 90 days, list price to be determined.
And you determine how long, like, I don't want a 90-day listing, so
30 days.
I put 60 days in.
Yeah.
I don't wanna go any more than 60 days. You know, usually when I've done this kind of marketing, I can get the property sold. So I put in 60 days. The other thing we add in there is if the seller chooses not to accept any of the offers presented and they cancel the listing, then they are to reimburse listing agent for the prep costs and staging within 3 days after cancellation.
Mhm.
And the reason why we added 3 days is we don't want them to think they have
Forever.
forever.
Is that here?
No,
No,
this is, we
this
added
is
this.
our
So we're
business.
giving you the
This is our
verbiage to add
portion.
in
Okay, so what
yourself.
is that you're adding?
If the seller chooses not to accept any of the offers presented and they cancel the listing, they choose to cancel the listing, they are to reimburse the listing agent for any prep fees and staging within 3 days after cancellation of listing. The reason why we added that is because in the beginning, there was a time period where I was doing a ton of these and I went through 4 or 5 listings that didn't sell and they canceled because they have the right to back out. Well, if I'm staging, I'm paying the full $3,000 every time I stage a property, if not more. You know, all of a sudden I've eaten the cost of the tune of $15,000.
Right.
You know, so that's when we added that in there. We're giving them the no risk, but if they want staging to get them more dollars and they choose not to accept an offer, then they can also reimburse us.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is your average marketing, expense on the home base? I'm sorry.
My average marketing expense?
I mean,
So,
it's-
like, you know, when you have a listing with home base and then you do.
It's
Facebook,
exactly
this and this and
the
this and this.
same as what you would normally spend on
Yeah.
a regular listing. So it's different for everyone. Different people use different services and different programs. I know that I spend somewhere around $4,000 per listing.
Mhm.
And I probably spend about the same, cause I do a lot of boosting on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Okay.
So, you know, it's the same thing, flyers. The only difference between
Videos.
home bids and a traditional is I no longer do the fancy flyers with the pictures on both sides or that open up this way. My flyer is one page, information on the property on one side, and then information about home bids on the other side.
Because that's what they really want to know. How
Right.
does this
Is
thing
that on
work?
the website?
But
Okay.
it's actually in here, we're gonna go over that.
We're gonna get there. So MLS. It's very important that you guys put the property or enter the property into the MLS in the right way, or else you will get fined, especially because there's a lot of people that like to turn us in these days. Those people. So in special information, you're gonna want to put this as an auction. That's the same area that you find.
Sorry,
Uh,
what is this confidential?
This is, we're back to
Page 6.
So that's the same area where you would find short sale or REO as a classification. So there's auction on that, and you're gonna put it in as an auction. Even though this is a hybrid, everyone wants to see it as an auction.
Putting it in as auction is going to cover your behind in several different ways. It's against the MLS rules to not have a lockbox on a property. And you can get fined if you don't have a lockbox on the property.
Even if the client,
Okay, I'm getting there. So you put auction and you put by appointment only. That is really, really important. And then you mark no lockbox. But if you don't do those two things, you will get a compliance violation emailed to you within 24 hours of inputting the listing. The other thing that's really, really important is under confidential remarks, you wanna put the verbiage that we have for you right here verbatim, where it says home bids, online bidding at your website address. So I put accepting offers now through online bidding, and I put the website address, starting bid, put your starting bid price, the day that home bids ends and the time, and then in capital letters, because agents don't read, so you wanna get their attention, you're gonna put seller reserves the right to accept, counter, or reject any bid. People seem to think that because it's an online bidding or an auction, that if they win the bidding, that they automatically get the house. And this is my response to them. If you ever did an auction at the courthouse and you won the bid, you didn't necessarily get the house. It still had to make sense to the seller. So you don't necessarily get the house just because you are the top bidder in this case too. So that's why we put it in capital letters. And then buyer's premium is 3%. Now, I don't put built into the sales price because that has caused me a lot of
Too
issues.
many phone calls.
Too many phone calls?
Yeah.
So now when I put, in this format, I put buyer's premium 3% equals winning bid price plus 3% buyer's premium establishes the final purchase price.
oh, can you repeat that?
You can go to any one of Angela or my listings on the MLS and just
copy it.
copy it and paste
Okay.
it.
Yeah, it's real simple. That's what you have to do. Then on the next part, what says your website verbiage, we really don't go over this part anymore because it's now all already templated in. So all you gotta do is fill in the template.
Yeah, before we had to copy and paste all this stuff and it was not very fun, but now we can ignore that portion of the book.
Right, the part that you do wanna understand in this part too though, is the bidding auto extender.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're gonna get phone calls and you need to be able to explain that to people. The auction ends, like my auctions all end at 4 o'clock. And I still call it auction even though no one wants us to, everybody else wants us to call it home bids or bidding. Carrie's ends at 2 o'clock.
You're gonna wanna end your auction at a time that you know that you can babysit your phone for at least an hour before and at least an hour after. Sometimes more than that. So do not schedule it to end when you're supposed to be picking your kid up from preschool. Don't schedule it to end at 12 midnight at night because your phone will be ringing.
Don't schedule it when you have a listing appointment and you're gonna be with the seller.
Right.
You know, you have to be available. Everybody's going to be calling you. They go into panic mode as you start getting to that last minute point, and that's where it goes to the auto extend. They see 4 o'clock in the confidential remarks as agents. They expect it to be just like eBay.
Yep.
And to shut down at 4 o'clock. It doesn't. The magic happens after 4 o'clock. So what happens is if somebody bids at 3:55 or 3:56, it auto extends by 10 minutes. And if somebody bids again 5 minutes before it ends, it auto extends another 10 minutes. Ours are on an average go about 45 minutes after the cutoff
So
time.
it's a system automated, you have no control, so
Right.
they can't say, hey, you know, I had the highest bid at 4 o'clock.
No, and we
but-
still get the calls right at 4 o'clock. I just won. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Go back, keep
Right.
Is
bidding.
there some kind of disclosure or like?
Yes,
maybe
and
It's
they-
everywhere.
It's
It'll
everywhere.
be on the print material, the flyers, the website, the FAQs that you're going to put in the associated documents on the MLS. That's the part that we forgot to talk about on the MLS. So, associated documents. If you turn to the very end of the book, this is stuff that you're going to be able to find in your agent collateral off of the website. This is FAQs, how to bid. You're going to want to put all of that in the associated documents. Don't worry, they'll still call you and ask you those questions. But just in case they're there and you can ask them, oh, did you see the associated documents? Why don't you go check those out first and then come back to me with any additional questions? Because your phone does ring probably about 4 times the amount that it usually does, just because people are like, how does this work?
Right.
Now, how do we access the collateral information you put on the MLS?
When you're all certified, we will, Jeffrey, our
Jeffrey
office,
at Danville.
will give you your username and your login, and then you'll be able to get it all. Here's the other thing too that's really, really important. What happens that last hour before it ends is you get the last minute people that want to jump on and bid. So there's 2 ways that you can get approved. You have to be an approved buyer to bid on home bids.
Not just anyone
Not
can
just
go
anyone.
on there and
The
push
eas-
the button.
Yeah, the easiest.
We're now starting to answer that like weird bid.
Right,
Mhm.
right. The
Push it.
easiest and fastest way to get approved is by credit card. The buyer or the agent puts in a credit card, the auction company, the developer does a little soft credit check, checks out, sees that they're real, they're not a minor, instantly they get instant approval, okay? That's number 1. So this is what I tell people when they call me within that last hour. The fastest way to get approved right now, because you only have 40 minutes left, is to do it by credit card. So if they call me within the last hour, I recommend that they use a credit card because I may not be in a spot where I can go and manually approve them. The other way to get approved is by manual approval, which means they click the box that says
Ask for agent approval.
ask for agent's approval, and they're supposed to send you a pre-approval letter and proof of funds. You know, and proof of funds, if you're brand spanking new, means their bank statement, their 401k, wherever their down payment is, that's what you want to see,
Or if they're all cash.
or if they're all cash. Then you approve them. Okay, Carrie and I, what we do is, if it's Monday through Wednesday,
That's
we-
the very beginning. We
we
just
approve-
posted it.
yeah, we approve everybody. We don't even care if we see their pre-approval or not, because we want the auction to get started. We need the bottom
We need
person.
those guys
Right.
to get it going. Those aren't the real buyers. They'll never be the ones ending in
Very
at the
rarely
end.
they are.
Yeah.
As we start getting closer to the auction date, the deadline, that's when we actually start collecting the pre-approval and the proof of funds. And when we talk to the person because they've won, again, we're gonna ask their agent to send us their pre-approval and their proof of funds.
If we haven't already
Got
received
it.
it. Or an updated pre-approval because it went a lot higher than everyone expected.
The reason why I'm telling you that now on the MLS, and as far as the website goes, is you wanna refer people back to that because you're gonna get that one person. There is an agent around here that has bidded on several of our listings who has said, no, I was the person at 4 o'clock, I'm the winning person, it has to be mine. And you have to go back and explain to them, you have to know where it is to direct them to it and say, see, it was right here, you should have read what you agreed to.
It's everywhere though.
Other thing that's on the website now too, that wasn't there before, is the price acknowledgement. So what we're now having people do is they have to check a little box after they've registered that they understand that there's a buyer's premium and that they agreed to it and that that buyer's premium is going to be added onto their winning bid.
The reason why that's happening is there were several people that said they didn't know that it wasn't already in whatever they were bidding up, even though it was explained to them 100 different ways on you know, on the website, in person, on the phone, in the FAQs. They still didn't understand that. So now they have to check a box that says, I understand that the winning bid is not what's gonna be on the purchase agreement. We're gonna need to add that 3% buyer's premium to the winning bid to establish the final sales price.
Right, and then we remind them. So it's the end of the auction, and I'm calling up the top winner, and Carrie's the agent for the top winning bidder. And I'll go, congratulations, your client just won the bidding at 123 Easy Street. Just wanna let you know that you now have 24 hours to write your offer and present it to me. And oh, by the way, don't forget that there is a 3% buyer's premium, so your client's price should be at least $515,000. And just so you know, this is still highly competitive, because I will be calling up bidder number 2 and getting them to write their offer, so just keep that in mind.
Oh, well, why are you calling bidder number 2? I thought we just won.
Well, yes, you just won, but I don't know what your terms are, and your terms may not be agreeable to the seller, so I still have to look at bidder number 2. You know, and you explain it that way. The other thing too is, what if it went over? So my listing in San Ramon, freeway wall across the street, that was what you looked at. 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,800 square feet. Comps were at 875.
On a good day.
On a good day. We were happy with 875. We got $1.9 million for it. The highest bid came in at 900, I think it was 9 something, early 9s, with the buyer's premium, put him at 998. So when I called the agent, and I told the agent, look, congratulations, I'm gonna be looking at your offer, I'm gonna be looking at bidder number 2. Remember, this is still very competitive, so keep that in mind when you're writing in the offer. And oh, by the way, I know we're gonna have an appraisal issue at this point. Make sure you address that.
Right.
So you've gotta really know your comps, you have to really know what is happening in your marketplace so that you can direct the other person to write you a really good offer. And then you're done.
You didn't even tell the ending of that story. So that contract was supposed to come in at $998, but the agent on the other side actually listened to Angela when Angela said, you know, do write your offer as if you're still in competition. And so then that's how they got to $1.9 million, is because they went back and advised their client, you know what, they're gonna be bringing in the second highest bidder, and you really want this house, let's just push it a little bit more because you were willing to go more anyways.
They pushed it a little bit more and they removed the contingencies in the appraisal.
All contingencies.
All contingencies.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was this?
This was in February?
Yeah,
February or March, yeah.
5 months ago.
Yeah, 5
Now,
months ago.
if they had come in at that 998 that you instructed them, they still would have gotten
They
it.
could still have gotten it if their terms were agreeable. What if number 2 was all
No,
cash?
but I'm just saying, in this case, they removed all contingencies and everything,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
they
they
really
still
didn't
would've
have
got
to
it.
pay that
Right,
premium.
right.
They just didn't understand that part.
No,
No, they
They
understood.
just didn't
They just
want
didn't
bidder
wanna
number
miss out
2
on
to
it.
do that.
Because
Oh,
bidder
so
number
bidder
2 can
two could
do
have
also.
done
The
that.
same thing I say to bidder number 1,
Okay,
I say to bidder number 2. Here's the difference. This is fully transparent.
got it.
Okay, so everybody, that's what we're selling, is transparency. We're not selling secrets anymore. This is fully transparent. So bidder number 2 knows that bidder number 1 won by $1,000 more than them. So what I say to bidder number 1, I say to bidder number 2. Now I take it a step further. As soon as the auction is over and we're negotiating, because maybe there's something not right with the terms I need to counter,
Right.
I immediately go on the MLS and change the price to whatever the winning bid is, so that all the other agents out there know where we're truly at. So if somebody else wants to bring me an offer, because now I've countered and I can look at offers on the outside, they know that the auction ended at 5:15 because I had the buyer's premium into it. So they call me up and go, well, what's going on? I go, well, we're out on counter. I countered bidder number 1 and bidder number 2.
But there's still a chance. Bring your
Yeah,
highest and
so
best.
because I'm on counter, we didn't just flat out accept one. please bring me your offer, but it's gotta be better than 515.
So you actually you change that MLS from 350 to 515?
I do. I know some other people don't, but I do. That's just my feeling. I'm selling transparency. So I'm gonna be transparent all the way around, and it works out in favor of the seller.
And then you're doing a multiple counter, or?
Sometimes.
I'm always in a multiple counter if I'm bidding number 1 and number 2. And I use a multiple counter form.
So the buyers are able to see all the different bids and who outbid them, it's all on.
It's all there.
It's all there.
All right, so moving on to the
Open
open house. So we're gonna do another little ad lib for you on how it really works. This time I'm the agent and Angela is the open house attendee. And let me set the stage for you because we've all done open houses, I hope. And most open houses, everyone is used to being the kryptonite in the room. Nobody wants to talk to the agent. They do whatever they can to grab that flyer at arm's length and run through the house and be like, no, I'm cool. Instead of that, you are the most valuable person in the room because everybody wants to know what's going on here, how does this work, there's a million questions. So for these open houses, we don't do them solo. We can't lead capture, answer as many questions, keep the personal property safe with the amount of traffic that comes to these open houses based off of that list price.
Right, so when we're telling you, you're gonna get anywhere from maybe 60 to 100 people,
150,
150 in a day.
Yeah.
We're not joking. That's literally how
real.
many people you're going to get.
So ideally, you have 2 or 3 agents, or 2 agents and a lender. One person is gonna be the gatekeeper at the door, collecting sign-ins. Don't ignore the opportunity to capture all those orphan buyers because this $350 list price is going to get people wanting to buy that didn't even know they wanted to buy. So you're gonna wanna capture all that information because those are your nurturers for the next 3 years. So,
Those are your pipeline.
yeah, exactly, and if
And you
you
don't
run,
receive many dummy emails?
sure.
Okay.
I mean, you always do. Blah, 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 blah.
So we're trying to set the stage so you
One
understand.
person at the door.
Isn't gonna work by yourself.
Yeah.
And
One
they
person
sign
at the
on
door, one person, you, or one person answering all the questions, which typically you put yourself in a larger room that has some space so people surround you so you can be answering multiple people at the same time. And then ideally, if you have that one additional agent, then that person can be giving special care to the buyers who are real buyers who want to know a little bit more about the property, and those are typically your buyer's agents on your team if you have them, or someone else that you pal up with at your office that can really help. And you know, if that does become a winning bidder, this is a good time to talk about it.
Right.
If that does become a winning bidder, Keller Williams has asked that we do not double end any of these.
And
of these
there's a
sales.
reason why we're asking people not to double in, because there's been such an uproar in the community. I mean, literally when I'm saying I'm getting hate mails, I get turned into the board every week. Every week there is a complaint, there is a
Don't worry,
complaint.
this is not gonna happen to you. We're like the messengers.
Right.
Yeah.
So we opted not to double in, so what we've done instead is Carrie and I have built teams. So if you don't have a team, partner up with somebody else in your office, buddy up with another agent. And what we do is, I'm the listing agent, but if Carrie's on my team, she gets to represent the buyer. So on the MLS, it doesn't say Angela Hearn, it'll say Angela Hearn and Carrie.
Right.
You know, have 2 different names. She's representing the buyer, I representing the seller. But here's the beauty of it, is because we made a deal that we would partner up. If Carrie,
I'm giving her a 50% referral
exactly.
fee. Or whatever you
And
guys
vice
agree
versa,
to.
right, and vice versa. So if it's her listing and I'm holding it open with her, and then I write the offer, then I would give her 50%. So it's a win-win for both agents,
Right.
but you're not representing both persons, so no one can accuse you on, oh, you set this up so that you could double in.
Or steal people's
Steal
buyers.
people's buyers.
Or any of that.
Now, the beauty of this is, when you asked about signing in, is you can do it any way you want. What I do is everybody on my team has an iPad. And everybody on my team has the Open House Pro. And so with my feeling is this is my open house, I'm bringing in hundreds of people through here. They wanna see the house, they have to register to sign in. So I capture them on registration that way. If they come in with an agent and they hand me a business card, the
They don't have to
agent
sign
hands me a business card, not the client. They don't have to sign in. But if they're coming in by themselves, they need to sign in. What I tell them is, you know what, the seller has requested for security reasons that everybody signs in
I
to
mean,
view
there's
the property.
150 people coming through the property. Security reasons is not a BS line. There's a lot of people and a lot of stuff can go missing. People could get hurt, you
Right.
know.
Right. So that's why I'm saying you set the stage. So now we're gonna show you kind of some of the questions that come up whenever anybody comes through the open houses.
So
So,
here's
hi.
a flyer.
Oh, thank you. So, okay, so this is different.
Mhm.
So what is this bidding thing that I have to do that I see on the back of this flyer?
Right, yeah. So have you ever bid on eBay?
Yeah,
It's very much like that. This house is a traditional listing being offered through online bidding. That's the time when you're like, oh, it's not a foreclosure?
yeah, is that a foreclosure?
No, it's just a regular sale, being offered through online bidding. So it's very much like eBay. You get to see where your bids are at all times. You can go back and up your bid if you've been outbid and all of that.
Oh, wow, okay, that's cool, interesting. The other thing we'll hear is, it's at $350,000, what's wrong with it?
Oh, actually nothing. We have full reports. We have a disclosure package available. You signed in at the front door, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna take note of your name, and I can send you a disclosure package, or you can have your agent request it. But yeah, no, I think the pest came in at like under $1,000, and really the only thing is there's a little bit of dry rot by the garage door. So
Okay.
that's it.
And I'm curious, what's this 3% buyer's premium? Doesn't the seller normally pay the commission? Why am I paying the commission?
Yeah, no, that question comes up a lot. So actually, in reality, it's always the buyer that's paying all the commissions.
What do you mean the buyer's paying all the commissions?
So it's whatever the buyer's willing to bring to the table that the seller pays all their commissions out of. So let's just say this was a regular sale not being offered through online bidding, and you were gonna offer $500,000. The seller's taking all the commissions into consideration when they're trying to decide whether they're gonna accept your offer or not, and you know, that has to cover the commissions as well.
Okay, so but why do I have to add 3%? So how does that work?
So whatever your bid is, so you're gonna be bidding just like the eBay, and then when the bidding ends, so let's just say it ended at $500,000, then your purchase agreement is gonna reflect $515. So it's not a closing cost or something that you have to, you know, bring extra money to the table. This is actually just baked into your loan, so you're gonna be financing it if you're financing.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. And, you know, I actually have cash. I'm gonna purchase it cash.
Yeah, my seller loves cash. Yeah, so hopefully you can be, you know, at least in the top 3, because unless you're in the top 3, my seller's not even gonna know that you're cash. But ideally, if you're the top bidder, then I'm sure they'll be very happy to see your offer.
Yeah, but over here.
Wait, but there's 15 people.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm gonna write it with you, and it's cash.
Yeah, so I promised the seller that I wasn't going to be representing a buyer. So if you're not working with an agent?
Well, no, I was gonna work with you so you could get
Okay.
better deals, so you could help me get a deal.
Great. So I have another agent from my office that I would love to have help represent you. They can help talk you through the whole process, and then you're going to be able to see where you're at all times. And so hopefully you do get a good deal.
But I still have to bid?
Yeah, you do. Once the bidding starts, it's got to run its process.
But I just want you to remember that I have cash.
Yes, I'll remember that. That's great.
And the reason why I bring that up, because that happens all the time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And my response usually is, that's great, but you still want to be the top 2 bidders, or I won't know
And it's
Right.
all cash.
Yeah.
that it's cash.
So the other thing that comes up is my agent told me that I shouldn't pay this 3% can, you know, and they said that they'll credit me or something like that. And so what we tell them at that point is what's between you and your agent is between you guys. Just write that into your offer, but whatever the final bid price is, 3% has to be added to the top of that. And then if your agent's gonna credit you back, you can just put that in an addendum or whatever.
Right. So
And
you can
then-
make the agent credit you back towards your closing costs.
And then also sometimes they're still hung up on the, you know, like, but what, you know, they're just hung up on the price and the 3%. So the way that I usually just take that all down is just say, okay, if this was a traditional listing, how much would you be willing to offer? Well, I don't know, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, if you were gonna be willing to offer 500, just subtract 3% out, that's your highest bid. Oh, okay. And then they're good.
Yeah.
Right, and then the other thing too, I'll say to them, and they'll go, well, why are you doing it this way?
Uh-huh.
And I'll go, okay, well, how many offers have you written so far?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we've written 10. Okay, so if you've lost out on 10 houses,
How much did you lose out by?
we don't know.
We
The
don't
agent
know.
never
Or,
called.
oh yeah, there was that one that closed and I only missed it by 3,000. I would have gone 5,000 over. Great.
Right.
That's not going to be the case here. You're only gonna lose when you decide to stop bidding. You have, you know, you have full control
But it's still
here.
subject to terms.
Of course.
Right, everything's, subject to terms, but at that point, that's not the
But the
question.
price
Won't be
coming up, right.
situation.
Right.
I think the transparency part is a really
Right.
I love
And-
good selling point.
And when it gets to that point,
Yeah.
that's when the buyers literally say almost every time, why doesn't everyone do it like this? And my answer to that is, I hope everyone will someday. You know, it's transparency is what people are aching for and what's causing buyers a lot of, you know,
Alright,
frustration
okay, I
and
have
stuff.
a couple questions. My first one
Sure.
is, there's two houses, they're both, one's 500, they're both the same house, I mean, you know, similar houses. One's, traditional, 500,000, and then the one next door, which you are representing, your listing, is 350.
Correct.
So they're, both are having an open house, on the
Mhm.
same day.
Mhm.
And the buyers come into your house and they say, well, why 350? You know,
Yeah.
why is this 350
And
and
we
the one
explain it
next
to
door?
them, because we
It's the
price at
starting
30,
bid.
it's a starting bid, we're doing an auction, we're giving you an opportunity, and you know what, I love it when there's another listing in the neighborhood exactly like mine at the traditional price, because you know what that does? It drives everybody to mine first,
Well, it drives everyone to yours and it sets expectations as to where it's gonna end.
right, that
And
makes it,
how transparent can you be? Can you say, oh, this is part of home bids and we already started 30%?
oh,
No.
I wouldn't sit in there and
You
go.
don't wanna discourage.
Yeah, you don't wanna discourage, you want,
Because everyone's there to get that deal.
Right, right, you wanna encourage them to, because here's the thing, if you've ever gone to, let's say, an auction where they're selling a painting, okay? Until that first person raises their hand or their little paddle for the auction to begin, nobody raises their hand for the auction to get going, and you're sitting there, nothing's happening. You need that first person who thinks they can get the house at $350,000. I get it, it's not fair to the
For that
buyer
buyer,
who
they learned fast.
right, but you know what? It's their agent's job to educate their clients on what the market value is.
Okay.
My job as a listing agent is to get my seller $515,000. Yes.
Okay, so you don't say, well, we generally list 30% over
No.
market value.
No, what I say is my seller would like market value, and I let them figure out what market value is.
Right, and sometimes they press you and then you give them a range. I've seen houses around here go from this to this, but you never know. You know,
Right.
leave them with the hope.
Right, right, because we want them to bid. We want them to bid, otherwise your auction isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't have.
Okay, so
Great.
let's talk about why the no lock boxes. All right, so the reason why we don't let anybody show the house during the week is because we want to instill urgency. So if you're at an
Right.
open house and there's 50 to 100 people walking through that house, the same time you are going through that house, all of a sudden you feel like everybody wants this house. So
Right.
you're gonna rush back and you're gonna write that offer
Or start bidding.
or start bidding. If you're going in there with the agent by yourself, the house is all to yourself, it's quiet, you can see everything that's wrong with the house and everything that's great with the house, and there's no sense of urgency. You know, so that is the main reason why we do it where no one can show the house other than during,
That's psychology, human nature.
Mhm.
Everyone wants what everyone wants. If there's 50 people in the house, this must be a really great house.
right?
When they see it listed online, 350, they're like, oh man, that place is haunted, but I wanna see it anyways. Then they show up and they realize it's not haunted, it doesn't smell like cat pee, the roof's not caving in, and everyone else wants it too. This is a great house.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is the actual people that are there in the house are going to help you sell the house. So
Yeah.
you've got them in there and you've got one person going, oh honey, if we buy this house, we're gonna put the TV over here and the couch is gonna go over here.
She's crazy, the
Right.
TV goes there, this is my house.
Right,
my
exactly.
house.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. The only time I let agents go and show the house is Monday before the auction ends. Because
Correct.
I'm not doing any open houses on that day, and the people that are going through are going in for a second look or a third look. They've
are
already
the-
been through the
Those
open
are the
house.
real people. Let
Right.
them go back in.
That-
Those are the ones that are gonna
But you
take
put the
it.
lockbox on them for that one day?
Yes.
I put the lockbox back on for that one day. Or you know what, I don't even use the super lockbox, I'll use a combo lockbox, so that my agents,
So it's just the, yeah.
can get in, and we put it in a spot where the public can't see it. Because on the MLS it says there's no lockbox, I'm not advertising a lockbox.
Another way that I upsell the no lockbox thing to my sellers during the listing appointment is I actually mention that it's also for security reasons. Have you heard how many houses have been broken into lately because they're cutting the super boxes off? We're not gonna be doing that. Did someone-
No, they didn't hit, they missed it.
That was a warning.
Yeah. Well, they're still mad.
Someone's fighting over Bernie's face.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's why we do the no lockbox
Yeah.
thing. And the reason for multiple agents there also is because of security reasons. You cannot capture, you can't even talk to 100 people. When Carrie's doing an open house and we've got 50 or 60 people, she will literally have a circle of buyers going all the way around her, asking her questions at the same time.
Right.
Right.
And there's some people that hover for a good half an hour, 45 minutes, waiting to see what they forgot to ask, and everyone else is asking. So it's kind of cool.
Right.
So we did already talk about approving buyers. Just know that when, when they are being vetted, we don't know 100% of the time that the people that are using the credit cards, we don't know who they are, but all of their information is captured. So in the end, if someone is there up to no good, let's say it's their cousin from Wyoming who's trying to bid the price up because that's what they did on eBay and made an extra $50 back when. So those people are fully traceable, and it's 100% against the law to do shell bidding and
Puffing or straw bidding.
And so do say something to your sellers. Like, I know, here's what I tell my sellers: do not watch the auction. It's high anxiety. Do not take a look at it until the day of bidding, and I highly recommend not logging in to look at it until actually 2 o'clock, and that's when stuff's gonna start happening. Also, if you do get tempted to log in and take a look the night before and it's not doing anything, do not give in to temptation to have someone go in and put in a fake bid for you, because it's against the law and nobody looks good in orange.
The other thing too is the temptation for us as agents. Okay, so when we're looking at the website,
It's
the
not
bu-
worth your
the
career.
buyer is allowed to put in a maximum bid. Okay, so let's say we've got somebody who doesn't wanna watch it, but wants the property, so they put in a maximum bid of 600. It's only gonna bid for them by $1,000 increment of whatever the current highest bid is. Well, it's not Tuesday yet, the auction isn't over, we're still on Saturday, and all of a sudden you have that 24-hour lag where nobody's bidding on it. But you know that there is somebody there that can bid for 600 because as a listing agent, you can see it. Public can't see it. All they see is 501.
Current bid.
The current bid. Okay, don't go in there and start putting in a fake bid to get it moving again, because if somebody gets upset and they want to trace it, they can trace it right back to you on the IP address. and it is against the law, and then you get in trouble, and then you've ruined it for the rest of us, because then the DRE is gonna come down on it. And
What's-
again, you won't look good in
When you
orange.
say, Angela, about the 600, there was,
It goes,
Yeah,
well, if someone doesn't wanna babysit the auction, so if someone doesn't have the time to sit there and push the button every $1,000, they can put a maximum bid just like eBay. So let's just say that they put $1 million in there, cause they wanna win it no matter what. It will only go $1,000 above what the next highest bidder is willing to bid.
Until
But
the
it's-
expiration time, is what you're saying.
Until the auction
people
is
stop
over.
bidding.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
right.
'Cause it
So
goes
you
in
can
overbid.
see that,
You can see.
You can see
the-
$1 million.
But you can
right,
see
so
the
you can see
million.
a
And you
million.
can also see all the bids that.
Right, but the public is gonna see wherever the current bid is, so if the
Right.
current bid right now is at 510,
Right.
it's gonna bid for them to 511, it's not gonna take them to $1 million, it's gonna bid that, until somebody bids 512.
But here's the other thing, you're not gonna go to your seller and be like, hey, there's someone that wants to pay $1 million for your house, because that person is not willing to pay $1 million for the house.
Right.
They're not willing to pay anything that's not in writing. So you're not gonna go present an offer that's not an offer. So let's just say that the $1 million offer was in there and it ended at 511. They're gonna write their contract at 511 plus 3%, whatever that equals. That's the contract you are presenting to your seller. Don't get the temptation, even if it's not as extreme as $1 million, don't get the temptation to say, oh, but they were willing to go to 575, so let's go counter them. Because you don't know what their true intentions were. Maybe they just wanted to win and they were cool with the $1,000 over. But if you haven't hit your goal, so let's just say your goal was 500,000 and the bidding ended at 475 and you saw that there was someone in there that their max bid was 500,
You can counter.
you can counter, because if you lose them, the seller's not gonna take that offer anyway, so it's okay to lose that buyer. And you do know that they're willing to go up, I still personally wouldn't have that conversation. I would just say, well, let's counter them and see.
Yeah, don't
Because
tell
until
the
it's in
seller.
writing, it's not
Yeah.
real.
Don't tell your seller, oh, because let's say you're a couple $1,000s off from what the person's max is. Let's say the person's max was 517. And they got it with the buyer's premium being at 515. The seller is happy. Don't go tell the seller, well, you know what, I actually can see that they're willing to go up this much higher. Because all you've done now is opened up a can of worms.
Yep.
Because
If
now you've
everyone's
got a,
happy, everyone's
yeah.
happy.
The buyer's willing to write that price, you present to the seller what the buyer is willing to write. If the offer doesn't work for the seller because it didn't quite reach where they want to do, counter it like you would anything else. But don't go say, oh, you know what, I saw on there on my end that the maximum bid was this amount, because now you've got a problem. You've got a major, major problem.
You might think you're being a hero, but you might be killing the deal.
Right.
So,
it's not a material fact that as a fiduciary, you have to.
No,
No,
because
it's not
it's
in
not
writing.
something it's not in writing, and it's not something they can see.
Right.
The whole idea is, as far as all the bids go, all the offers are being presented as it's being, people are bidding on it as far as price goes. The seller sees what the public sees. The only person who sees that maximum bid is you, the listing agent.
It's not in writing.
Right, so just have the integrity of not going, oh, hey, guess what, we can actually go $3,000 more. You know, unless the seller goes, you know what, doesn't work for me,
well, I'm not taking this.
I'm not taking, okay, well, let's
And then you-
counter.
Let's counter, how much do you wanna counter at, have the normal conversations.
Right.
And then you just know that there's a good chance that might happen. So the next part of the book is the agent module. We usually skip this because we've actually pretty much knocked out a majority of what the agent's concerns are. You can read it on your own. Just know that a lot of the problems that we were having with other agents are not really issues anymore now that it's become more visible in the market. But what we do want to talk about is appraisals, which
Right.
isn't a portion of this book, but we do have some stuff in here surrounding that.
So go to the page right after the sample listing agreement.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
Mhm.
What if you get offers that are outside of home bids? Do you direct those, or people who are interested, do you direct them to go ahead and register with home bids?
here's the thing. You can accept a preemptive offer on home bids if there is not two I'm gonna repeat that, 2 registered buyers on your website. The moment you have 2 registered buyers, the auction has begun. Per state of California laws, you gotta run the auction. So let me give you an example, because Carrie's got a really good example of this.
Yeah. So I had some sellers who were already in contract on their replacement home. So time was of the essence. We hit the market within 3 days of their offer being accepted. We were on the market, and very same day that we went on the market, we received a preemptive offer. At that point, we only had 1 registered bidder. They hadn't started bidding or anything. We were welcome to look at it. Sellers were happy with the amount because they just wanted to be in contract so they could fulfill their obligation. They did counter on some terms to clean up the offer a bit, because the offer was a bit messy, price point was great. We sent that counter out. That buyer was at work. I think she was a nurse, so she worked like a 12-hour shift. She did not sign that counter for a good 10 hours afterwards. In the meantime, bidder number 2 registered and started bidding. We could not accept that offer. My sellers were like, "Are you kidding me? What happened? Why can't we just take this?" I said, we just gotta let this roll. We did the auction till Tuesday. We ended up netting them $15,000 over what that original buyer was willing to pay. Sellers were thrilled. That original buyer was bummed, but that's the moral of the story, is if a counter goes out during that, you tell them, like, look, if anyone registers to bid, you're out.
So
You can't do it.
2 registered bidders,
They don't have to be bidding, they just have to be registered.
2 registered bidders, because people can look it up. 2 registered bidders begins the auction based on the California state law. And you have to run the whole thing. Here's the other thing too. You can't get started in the auction and decide, oh, we're changing terms of the auction. You can't go onto the website and start changing things. You have to leave it alone and let it run. It has begun, let it run its course.
So you have it ending at midnight,
Guess what?
drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah, you're gonna be awake at midnight, so be really careful.
Don't change those terms.
I'm gonna get to your question for just a second. Let me
Okay.
finish my thought.
Okay.
Here's the other thing too. You're gonna get phone calls, people who don't wanna bid, agents who don't wanna participate. This is what I tell them. I have 2 registered buyers. By law, I have to run the auction. I recommend that you register and bid, because whoever bids and wins has first choice and first option on this. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that that person gets the contract. If I go into counter, this is really important, if I counter and I'm not accepting a bid immediately from the auction, then I will look at outside offers, okay? Then I will call you up. So you know what we suggest? You get a journal and you write down every single person who calls you and their number about this property, and you hang on to it. Because if you don't get to $500,000, let's say you stop at $450 and you're not quite there, you're gonna do what we call dialing for dollars. You're going to call every single person that was interested in that property, and you're gonna see if they're willing to write you an offer at a price that your seller is going to accept. And a lot of times, that's how we'll end up selling a
We're
property.
able to get into contract within, those extra 2 days after the 8 days, or, if it goes back into a traditional sale,
Right.
it usually goes into contract within 2
Right.
weeks.
So to answer your question, yes, I've accepted offers that didn't bid, but it was after I countered
Correct.
bidder number 1 and bidder number 2.
Okay.
And there will be those agents that say, "Oh, my client just called me about this property right now, and I see the bidding ended yesterday, what do we do?" Well, we are in counters right now, your offer's gonna have to be 515 or wherever we're at.
Or better.
So back to the appraisal, because we do oftentimes have major valid concerns about appraisals coming in because the product works. So because of that, we have put together a letter for the appraiser, which is in the,
Back pocket,
is it in the back
it
pocket?
should be in the back pocket. If it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
there, then we'll send it to you. If it's not.
Licensing
The
agreement.
Oh, it's on the
Oh,
last page.
it's the very last page, so the to
Oh.
whom it may concern letter. So you're going to give that and a copy of the bid history, which is right after the sample listing agreement. The bid history you'll be able to print off of the website. That's in addition to your neighborhood comps, if it's even still within range. That's what you're gonna be presenting to the appraiser. A lot of appraisers love this, especially if they know what they're doing, because this is public record. Any auction bid history is considered public record. It's hard data that not only can they use, but we have had it used to such alarmingly, surprisingly happy degree that we are setting bars in neighborhoods for home sales that have zero comps for the price that they ended up appraising and closing at.
Right.
I have a beautiful example from even just 3 weeks ago, but our time is short, so I'm not even gonna say it, but 80,000 over comps and it appraised, simply because the appraiser was allowed to use the bid history to justify their price point.
So we use this for the appraisal, but we also use this in another couple of ways, okay? So remember when I said if the seller cancels the listing, or if you decide to divorce the listing, this is that list. So I have my assistant.
These are the registered bidders.
Right, these are registered bidders. I have my assistant go and write down the name of each single person that's on there, and that's what we turn into the seller, as well as everybody who registered on Open House Pro. You know, because we market it to those people. Now, if they sell it to one of those people, we get a commission. The other way we use this one's an old one, and it doesn't show what we see nowadays. But what we see nowadays on the website is you'll see the name, the phone number, the email, but you also see, I'm a listing agent, I'm a buyer with an agent.
Buyer's agent.
I'm sorry, I'm a buyer's agent, I'm a buyer with an agent, and then our favorite one is, I have no agent. So,
There's your leads.
There's your leads. Here's your pipeline to call for the next 6 months. I gave away 1,500 leads last year to my team, off of home bids alone.
She
I canceled
paid
Zillow.
no money
I
for
paid no
those
money for
leads.
those leads.
And that's
What did
full
it
contact
result-
information.
What did it result in? What kind of a?
It resulted into buyer sales for my team. You know, it's a pipeline for you to call, because these people are going, hey, I'm over here, I have money and I wanna buy a house, but I don't have an agent to help me. You know,
What I meant was how many of them closed?
Yeah.
I'm at 30 transactions already this year, and the year's not over.
Okay,
So, you know,
yeah.
it closed quite a bit.
And the final little nugget that we put in this book for you is, here's just some example properties. This was put in here a long time ago, so there's a lot more updated examples, but this is like an MLS little printout sheet. Use the successes of not just me and Angela, but all the
All
other
HomeBids
agents
agents.
that have been using HomeBids to, in a successful way. Use their results to help sell yourself at the listing appointment. Print out the client view of, this is where the property started, this is where the property ended, using the HomeBids tool. Most of the areas around here have had one or two. Some have had plenty, and then you print those out, you put it in your listing book, and you just say, here's properties that have sold using HomeBids. They're gonna assume those are your listings. You don't have to tell them they're not unless they ask you.
So is your home bids criteria in your MLS?
So all you gotta do is go to your MLS, do your search, punch in auction, sold. It'll give you a list of every house that is sold as an auction, and it's really easy to tell which one HomeBids. HomeBids started at a really low list price of 30% less and sold for a lot higher. If it's a bank, like an Ario, they
Or
don't always go higher.
auction.com,
Sometimes they go the opposite direction, so you can tell which ones they are, and then just click on those.
You can
and
also
print
tell
those.
from the confidential remarks.
How is that affected though? You said you changed the price to what is the final price that
You
is?
can
It
still
still
see
shows
the starting.
original.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Shows you the original list and then the sold price, is what it
Where's
shows
the,
you.
I'm not familiar with the auction button.
Special information.
Special information, okay.
Now,
You
does
can
this-
get help with your tech support at your office to help find that.
Will home bids work anywhere?
I've done home bids in San Jose, in San Francisco, in Tracy, in Fairfield, and everywhere else in between. And you guys, where else has it been
Santa
done?
Ramon, you've done Santa Ramon,
San
you've done
Ramon.
Discovery Bay, you've done,
Hercules,
Hercules.
Pittsburgh,
In other states too.
Other states,
Wisconsin.
Cause I was thinking of the South
Florida.
Bay in particular, and I thought someone said that's not gonna work in the South Bay.
We hear that a lot, okay?
Okay.
I certified a bunch of agents in Sacramento, that was the first, oh, it's not gonna work over here. It's working. You know what?
we just have one done in Sacramento.
In Sacramento,
Somebody
yeah.
You certified her,
Yeah,
and we got Hawaii now, Wisconsin, this.
yeah, it's all over.
Look,
It doesn't matter, here's the thing, okay? And I'm sorry, how?
Doris,
Doris, how long have you been in?
18
18 years, okay, so you should know this. Anytime you price something under market value, the market adjusts itself and corrects it. That's all home bids is doing. That's
Yeah.
all it's doing.
There was a few bids, auctions in the South Bay, and for some reason they didn't last.
Okay, well, some of them were mine. The first one I did in San Jose, it was a little tiny 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. We had 400 people through one open house.
Mhm.
I got the seller $950,000. Worked great. We had over 300 bids on that property.
Yeah.
It worked great. The seller wanted $1.1 million. The house is still not sold. He's gone on
he's
the market
listed with other
agents
Oh.
ever since. This was last year.
Okay.
Okay, you know, the one in San Francisco, again, the seller, it doesn't mean that it didn't work.
Right.
It was just like traditional sale,
Seller got greedy.
the seller gets greedy or the seller's unrealistic and you've taken the listing.
Did you
Yeah.
cancel that one too?
Yeah, that was one of the ones that I canceled and handed him,
Here's the list.
here's the list. I actually divorced him before he asked me to cancel it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you know,
You're like, did we?
Well, I
Yeah.
think it was the
Right.
agents that took it down.
right.
So for
They
some
poo-pooed
reason,
it.
when you cancel, you have to pay that 0.5% to
Yeah.
No,
make it still.
no, we're gonna discuss
So
that.
let's talk that. So if the property sells with you and you've listed and entered the property on the HomeBids website, HomeBids gets their 0.5% fee, and that's regardless if you hit your goal or not, if the property sells with you.
It doesn't matter if it sells as a home bids or if you switch it to traditional. Home bid still gets 0.5%. Now I'm gonna be really, really clear, because I get knocked on my door like 20 times a day, you know, at the office with this question, so I'm just gonna be really, really clear. If you switch it to traditional and you decide to reduce the commission to 5%, and you sell the house and you've paid the other agent 2.5% because now you've changed it on the MLS, you still have to pay home bids 0.5%, and guess what? It's part of doing business, you just ate that 0.5%. It's not a fee that the seller has to pay. The seller did not sign a contract with home bids. You did. So it's your responsibility to make sure that home bids gets paid,
And here's the
not the seller.
reason for that. You used the tool. For whatever reason it didn't work. It could have been you priced it wrong. It could have been the seller didn't have correct expectations. It could have been a holiday weekend. You used the tool, and also that tool was used to get the seller to list with you over that other agent that was offering them whatever. So because of that, HomeBids still gets their 0.5% fee if it ends up closing with you. Now, if you divorce that seller and that seller ends up going on and selling with someone else, somewhere else, whenever else, then it's done.
Yeah.
It's just between you, the agent,
And
and
HomeBids.
HomeBids.
Well, hold it, so if they divorce you, you only have to pay if you sell it,
Correct.
okay?
Now, if you sell the house, you have to pay. Now, let's take it a step further. I have given her a list of 100 people that have come through the house. And she sells it and it's one of my people, and now I collect a commission,
Procuring.
then HomeBid still gets paid 0.5%. It's if you sell it and you get paid, you gotta make sure HomeBids gets paid too, because they were a part of the whole thing. But don't cut, because this is what I get all the time, and I'm now getting to the point where it's like, okay, I'm saying this at the classes. Don't come to my office and go, but I told the seller, okay, we're gonna do it traditional, and I'm gonna lower the commission to 5%, but you have to pay the seller you have to pay HomeBids 0.5% because it's your responsibility.
Don't
No.
put it on the seller.
It's not the seller, it's your responsibility.
Okay, so if you go to traditional,
Mhm.
you don't have to cut, I mean, can you put the 0.5% into the commission?
It's just
It's
part of
just
the
gonna get
commission.
paid out.
This is what I do. I'll get an offer on traditional. I don't reduce my commission. My commission doesn't change from 6.5% or 6%. Very rarely it does. When I lower my commission, it's usually because I really, really like the seller and I wanna help the seller, you know, at the last minute during negotiating. I never reduce it up front. What I do is I'll go, oh, Mr. Seller, we just got an offer. Oh, the offer was, and I back it down. The offer was originally 500,000. They added the 3%. Do you hear the conversation? So the purchase contract is still 515. I'm still in line with home bids. And they don't even question my getting the 6%. You know, but
Because
if
the
Say
buyer,
that one more time, how do you,
here's
Okay.
the purchase agreement, the buyer added in
this
their
is
3%.
traditional.
yeah, the
Okay.
buyers added in that 3%. You know, originally it
This
was
offer
5.
includes the buyer's
It
premium.
includes the buyer's premium. So I still go with the same conversation I had with
Same
them.
language.
Same language all the way through. It doesn't matter if I'm traditional or not. They're still paying me 6%. They still feel like it's all, because here's the thing. Honestly, at the end of the day, if I would have sold it traditionally, I probably would have still gotten 515. Maybe not. Maybe I would have gotten 505. You know, because I got more people to it. They want to feel like they're getting a deal. We're letting them feel like they're getting a deal. 3%. We're letting the buyer feel like they're getting full representation because they're doing the buyer's premium 3%, and they feel like they're getting a deal because they can now see the property is real transparent. And you know what? We're getting paid our full commission that we deserve. So it's a win-win all the way across.
Seller's happy, buyer's happy, agents are all happy, everyone's happy.
We just want to make sure that you understand that if you do reduce your commission, and you're only going to take 2.5%, and you're paying the other agent 2.5%, that you understand
Really two.
you're only getting 2 because 0.5% is going to home bids.
Okay, so if you don't reduce your commission.
Everything's fine.
Then everything's good.
fine.
Yeah, there's no
So
discussion.
how does home biz get paid if your transaction goes
Doesn't?
through?
Home bids gets paid because we have a form in here for you that you'll get your collateral that instructs title to send them 0.5% off of the purchase price, referral fee.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, they're making
Okay.
sure.
Now, there's one more form that we put in here. This one's really, 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 really important. Those of you that are not with Keller Williams, you're welcome to copy it. As a matter of fact, I recommend that you copy it. Where is it?
Are you talking about this one?
Terms and condition.
Oh,
Terms
that's
and
on the other
conditions?
side of the,
Right.
the back.
It's on the second to last page.
Okay,
Oh,
so second to last page, terms and condition. So, when I said you don't do that little pretty flyer anymore, it's because this is more important than the stuff that's on that real pretty flyer. This is gonna CYA it for you guys. You need to put this on the back of the flyer, and in fact, when my people come into my open house, I don't hand them the flyer with the pictures. I turn it over and hand them the flyer with the terms and condition, and I immediately go into, we're doing an online bidding on this house, we're doing something a little bit different, and here is all the instructions and rules on how this works.
I put my website on there too.
And I have my website up also at the open house so that we can register people right then and there. The reason why we do that is this covers the buyer's premium. This covers, the seller has the right to accept, reject, and counter.
Auto extend.
It covers the auto extend, but it covers the one part that we haven't talked about yet. That if the buyer is screwing around and they decide to bid, but they don't really have any intentions of writing an offer, and you call them up and say, congratulations, you just won, we need to get your offer. And they say, oh, well, we were never planning on writing an offer, we were just playing. It covers the part where home bids can charge them $500 for wasting everybody's time.
And they agree to that on the website.
Right.
Now, we will say that
Right.
ever since this product was developed,
2011.
2011, they have not had to charge one person that, but it's there as kind of a firewall to say don't mess around.
Right, so we've taken it a step further and turned it into a disclosure. So we ask the buyers to sign this when we go into contract. We put it under Associated Docs. The same exact verbiage is already on your website because this is where we took it from. It's that template stuff, it's all in there. So when they're saying, oh, we didn't know about the buyer's premium, they've seen it like 4 times.
It's in the disclosures,
And
it's
the
in the
rules that they
Associated
make sure you
Docs,
sign,
it's
they check
on the
out.
flyer,
Right,
it's on the
right,
website, it's everywhere.
Right, right.
All right, you guys, so it's test time.
I have a question before.
Yeah.
So do the buyer's agent have to be certified or no? As some
No,
people say-
only the
No.
listing agent has to be certified.
Only listing agent.
Right.
Okay.
So Angela, I have one question. That half percent comes out of the, who pays the half percent when it closes? The one you send to title?
We do.
Okay, the agent does.
The listing
Escrow?
agent, it comes out of escrow, comes out of that full 6%.
Escrow pays them out.
Okay.
So if you're
Comes out of the
giving,
commission.
if you're giving the selling agent 2.5%, but you charge a 3% buyer's premium, that 0.5% goes to home bids and 2.5 goes to the selling agent and 3 goes to you.
Yeah.
If you're offering 3% to the selling agent and you're only doing 6%, then you get 2.5% because 0.5% goes to home bids.
Okay.
But that's where it's coming out of.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and a lot of buyers agents will say, oh, my buyer's premium 3%, but you're only giving us this on the
2.5.
HUD, it's showing 2.5. Then you have to remind them to go back and look in the MLS, and hopefully you put 2.5, or else you're gonna have to
Yeah,
pay
don't
them.
put 3 if you're only paying them 2.5%. Put 2.5%.
Okay, so the quiz is in the back pocket of the folder, and don't worry, you guys. We're gonna. This is going to be verbal, and you're all gonna pass. So.
So we don't, okay, good.
Oh.
So we're gonna start and go around the room and read out the questions, and then read out the answers together. So Doris, I'm gonna start with you, and you don't even have to turn these in, so you don't have to put your name on it.
Oh.
This is for you for a cheat sheet later.
Okay.
So Doris, read out the question and then read out the answers and tell us which one you think it is.
Okay.